Hello, everybody in Facebook Live Land. We are the Podguyz Podcast, bringing it to you as we do every Monday, 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. I'm Tony Cass.
Kevin Neary here.
Of course, we have the ever-loving Picasso, the dreamer of dreams, the creator of the canvas, the marker of the mysterious, Les Barquin. And as usual, he does say hi. Of course, he does not have a voice, but he does have a Crayola experience to share with everyone.
I was going to say, is he in a DVD store?
He is not. And you know what? And this happens with every single guest that we have, right? They're like, holy shit, man. Is that guy in a toy store or is he in like...
He's locked in the basement of Blockbuster.
He is the inside imagination of everybody's eventual midlife crisis. It's where Sparky lives, deep in people's psyches, where a room full of toys feels enough to coddle the inner demons and joys of
course, we can't get them out of the box.
No. Never touch the ones in the box. He has optional ones that are outside the box, but they should be always unnamed and unmoved.
He's got some doubles. But I'm trying to check out. I see it says Yergits.com, right? Yergits.com?
Yeah. So my secure socket layer expired and I didn't know it.
Man.
And so instead of HTTPS, it's just HTTP : // But that'll be fixed by the end of the week.
I got it. It says this connection is not private. And I'm like, son of a bitch. You know?
No! Guys, we do have a four square today. We have the impeccable, the intelligent, the mysterious Ross Yerger from Yergs.com. YERGZ.com.
There's also Yerg's Radio. Yerg's Radio is yours as well, right?
Correct. It's me.
All right.
Mastiff Media, Yerger Group, Rainbow Radio.
You have a multitude, a cornucopia, they say, of political podcasting abound.
Many platforms.
Okay.
Many personalities to go with the platforms.
No, I like your story in general, but let's talk about your podcast first. Of course, I shall let you have the floor, sir. Tell me a little bit about your podcast. Tell our guests.
Well, it started because part of it because my degree was history and political science, and part of it because as a kid, I had a fascination with PA systems and gear and toys, and fast forward wanting to be on the radio when my mom's really expensive $20 microphone for her stereo system could be used as a PA system, and I could hear my own voice from across the house. You know, that was cool. Get into college, I have a communications class, and as a result, my project for the class was we started a small, very temporary radio station in that we had it's full schedule, different, jocks coming in and doing whatever. And of course, I was the campus Howard Stern.
Ooh.
Was not exactly much of a Howard Stern, but,
well, in your mind, at least.
You got to learn somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
Of course. There's a starting ground for everyone.
There was always an area where Howard Stern tried doing just plain old disc jockey kind of stuff. And then he's like, the more I say tits and dick and pussy, people start listening. And people are, it was that dynamic of late 90s. Are we allowed to say this kind of stuff or are we not? And I think it really freeloaded up when people were like, wait a second. Jay Leno is allowed to make blowjob jokes about the president of the United States. We literally got all of our TVs interrupted by the president of the United States at the time, Bill Clinton, saying, no, all this is bullshit. I didn't get a blowjob. I didn't inhale. She didn't swallow.
Sex,
it doesn't count. Oral sex is not sex.
And so what the definition of is.
I love that. You know what? No one fucking believes me every time I say it was the most genius thing he's ever done. Define the word is. And they couldn't do it, really. They were just, you asked, it was basically like batting an impossible question back to lawyers, and they went on recess.
Yeah.
Insanity, man. Just insanity. What's your take on Bill Clinton, the Bill Clinton library? Since you are up to tune, you are up to speed on most politics. He did speak at the DNC of late. He didn't bring up much more of his famous, infamous record. But what's your take on him?
That was I spent, for the rest of the political science side of me, I spent 21 years in the Secret Service. And that was my protection time, was the Clinton family from 2007 to 2010. So I was with Hillary predominantly the first time she ran for president, when she ran in the primaries against Barack.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, weekends and whatever, or foreign trips, I would be assigned to President Clinton and would be with him then. But they are a couple that obviously has been through some shit, but still very much so loves each other. I've walked them through back streets of Chappaqua, New York, and Mount something, another small town, holding hands, nobody else on the street. No cameras, no press, no neighbors to wave at. So no other reason than to hold hands than the fact that they love each other still. And it was disheartening in 2008-9 to talk to so many professional women in DC who did not vote for her because she forgave Bill. And aren't you also part of that demographic that says, for better or worse, till death do us part?
Yeah, I mean, well, morally, you can be on either side of the coin where, you can be on the side of forgiveness or whatever happened. I'm guessing there had to have been an understanding and even a little bit of denial on Hillary's part when knowing what kind of guy Bill actually was when he wasn't around her all the time. But her voting, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's denial. I think it's customary. Like by the time Monica Lewinsky came along, it was not the first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And she knew the deal. Believe me, though, when I tell you, there was some pain administered. He had some making up to do.
As far as Hillary's voting record, being a woman in the Senate at the time wasn't it wasn't it was a very new thing. You didn't see many women in the Senate at that time. So her voting record, I like to call specifically try to blend in voting record. She voted yes to go to the war in Iraq. She voted no against fair and equal marriage and all that nice stuff, that marriage is both between a man and a woman. She spoke many times about how she feels that marriage is both between a man and a woman. Not just her, Joe Biden. You have a whole slew of the crew there trying to get reelected, basically. So you have these people trying to get reelected, playing the long game to see if they can get some policies that they truly do care about past saying what they have to say in a very patriotic or not patriotic kind of election cycle after 9/11, in my opinion. Is that pretty accurate?
They, to use Barack's words, evolved on the question of gay marriage and probably some other things. They realized that essentially with regard to Iraq, they were pretty much lied to. There was this whole weapons of mass destruction that we know is now bullshit.
Well, they had cartoons, Okay, they had cartoon they had cartoon billboards, and everybody's like, "Whoa, man, that looks legit." Now, when
political party that in 2020 brought newspaper articles into court as evidence to try to make the argument of a stolen election, because we know how accurate newspaper articles are.
Yeah, I guess during the voting term of that, and this was never really taken into accountability of overseas ballot and absentee ballots coming in for George W. Bush through Florida, which really pushed his popular vote over the edge, but wasn't really politicized. It wasn't advertised as such, because the media is going to want to tell you what they've been telling you. They're keeping their ratings up. People are now watching something. They're on the brink of their seats. They're waiting for something. And when in reality, I think one article got through at that time. It was year 2000. I was probably 15 years old, and I'm like, why are they even worried about this? Because the overseas ballots came in, and it was heavy. Eight out of 10 were voting for George W. Bush at that time, because he was wanting to boost military.
There was military votes, yeah.
Now, even for her as Secretary of State, were you also there for that particular time, or was it?
Yeah, so we were like a bad calling plan. The Secret Service, when we shared her with the Department of State, the Diplomatic Security Service, we had nights and weekends, and she had they had 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so when we picked her up at the end of the day, they brought her home, and we took over there. They came back the next morning and took her to work, worked her the whole day of work at the D Street at the State Department, and then brought her home in the evening. And then we took over and took her to New York on a Friday. And yeah, it was weird. We never.
Now, is that not necessarily is that the normal routine of a Secret Service agent? But
yeah.
What goes through the process?
Real quick. Does she really carry hot sauce in her purse, or is that bullshit that she just wanted to pull off for a radio thing? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm through the flag when I saw that shit. I'm like, all right, no way. That's pandering. No. Pandering.
No, I tell you, they fed us good. So whenever like the whole staff is over at the house, especially the one in DC, they would get Chinese, they would get Mexican stuff, they would get like El Salvadorian stuff to go, and they would get plenty for us. And there was sauce out the sauce. It was heavy. So
they'd get extra sauce.
Surprised that
you would be surprised if one bottle slipped in her purse.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I gotta do an interview at a Chicago radio station. If you catch my drift, I'm gonna pull this out and say I always travel with hot sauce, and it's not a bad prop. It just doesn't. If you're running against Barack Obama, a person who is he's a black guy, right? You're not gonna out-black him unless you're Bill Clinton, maybe. Maybe if Bill Clinton pulled out his saxophone and started playing some sweet blues or jazz music or whatever,
oh yeah,
then they're gonna be like, "Wow, Barack, why can't you do that?"
Can't believe he's not getting shit for this. When Tim Walz told Kamala Harris that he eats white guy tacos. Did you see that?
No. Tim Walz said, "Who eats white guy tacos?"
No, he said he does. He doesn't do sauce.
Okay, so he's kind of like self-deprecation sort of thing, right?
He's
a meat and cheese type of guy.
Yeah, that was it.
I look at the Kamala. I look at the Harris Walz ticket more of just marketability on the visual part of things. Now, stay with me on this one. What I see is if they took Obama and they took Hillary, they're like, hey, we really we had a good demographic poll off of Obama being, a black guy, an African American, whatever you want to call it. We got that. So we got that. What if he was also kind of a woman looking? And boom, you got Kamala Harris right there if you blend them both together. And then
I'm so sick of the accusations or the conspiracy theories or whatever you want to call it, that Michelle Obama is a man.
Oh, I hate that one too. No, she's not a man. She's not a man. Right. The one. And Tim Walz looks like the non-Jewish version of Bernie Sanders. So I swear to you, this is what they're doing. They made Obama, boom, let's make him female Obama with the whole Kamala Harris look. And then we got a non-Jewish Bernie Sanders to push at you right there. Kind of looks like he's close to Canada situation. So just on marketability alone, these are a familiar thing that most vote blue, no matter who people have seen before, since the Obama-Biden administration kicking in.
I found it actually kind of funny because they constantly talk about rebranding for the party, making sure that they're trying to be more hip and more cool and more trendy and more relationable. Just focus on the facts. Focus on the facts and the rest should fall. But no, they worry about numbers and votes and who they're going to offend, who they're not going to offend. Oh, are we hitting the right demographic?
It's
crazy. It's crazy in the political world.
That is the way they found successful to win elections, whether it be through gerrymandering or through the welfare reform process of putting people who would normally vote Democrat into new areas that are normally hard red. They count it as a unification of both parties, because if both parties are getting money from the same large corporations anyways, do we really even have a choice? Or are we living in a corporate oligarchy? That is always,
that's the other one that's getting old. The whole deep state. Some asshat thinks he knows what he's talking about. Spreads that throughout the Republican Party. Now all of a sudden it's gospel. Yeah, I can tell you for free, she's never smuggled children in the back of a pizza store in Georgetown. I was with her. She didn't have time.
But if she did have time,
would she have?
I mean, with all the other rumors, I don't think she would have been into children anyway.
Yeah.
There's
if
the whole.
She were into children.
Which,
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I'm not talking really deep state. I'm talking about the exact moment when the Supreme Court allowed the definition of corporations to be people when allowing them to donate. So if you have that much monetary leverage on campaigns, or we'll push it in this direction too. I'm not afraid to push it in this direction. Election interference due to monetational leverage, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
that's where there's election interference, when you can have billionaires donating to the NRA, donating to a campaign, or spending on behalf of a campaign. And same thing with, the progressive liberal side. But what I don't get is how it's legal for a guy that lives in, I think it's Los Angeles, to run for the Senate in, was it Minnesota or Michigan or North Dakota, one of those? Doesn't even live there. Never lived there.
So what political parties have been doing is they've been buying up houses in swing states and putting a list of possible candidates as what's the name of it? But they've been putting them on the deeds of the houses, so that way at a whim they can just say that they do live there and they have had residency there for so much amount of time. It's what happened here in Pennsylvania with Dr. Oz. He wasn't the only person on that deed, a central Pennsylvania deed. And it's a smart move if you're looking to just insert a celebrity in there Dr. Oz had a very good debate. It basically between him versus John Fetterman. It turned into a 1 hour long Dr. Oz commercial. And me and Tony, we've interviewed people before that are nutritional specialists. They're doctors. They're very well spoken. What happens is you get 2,000, 3,000 of these Dr. Oz's in a room. And Dr. Phil's is along with Oprah, and then you make them Oprah's friend. There's no coincidence that Dr. Phil has bald head and a mustache. The other one has a full head of hair, and he's from Turkey. You're hitting a lot of demographics there, and you're making sure you're raising your chances for success by juking the stats one way or another. When it came to Fetterman, dude took a stroke. I voted.
Got home. He's going to feed his dog for too many times. Sorry, the kid just got home from work. He's about to feed his dog.
Okay.
And she's a puppy, and she already ate, so she don't want to do that.
Gotcha. What kind of dog you like? What do you kind of?
I have, as the brand suggests, I used to have two. One passed away a little over a year ago. I have Mastiffs. His dog is a puppy pit bull.
That was it. That was like the most seamless graphic pull.
It was great.
Yeah, so I use something called OBS, Ordinary Broadcast System, or something like that. It's free. It's a bunch of geeks that make it, and they put it out there and say, have at it. And I just the fade back and forth, from the preview to the program, what you're seeing now, that's what's coming up next. So I just hit that button. If I got to cut my camera, you'll see that logo. I've been using it for the past 2 weeks because I've been sick. So I had to mute my mic and had a spit cup here to hack yellow shit into, and didn't want to put that out over TV.
Yeah, you got you got to tough through it a lot. People think that all we do is just talk most of the time, and I've been wearing a catheter since day one. And the bathroom isn't even far away. I could literally just go up and pause, but standing up these days is kind of a pain in the ass too. So I figure, just get used to the cathetering yourself every morning. My wife looks at me and says, "Why do you have to do that?" I'm like, "Stop looking at me!" I don't use any pain medication. Goes right through the. Anyways, Tony, back to you.
So I want to throw in the and not to say that I'm picking on the Clintons in general, but wasn't Hillary the one who purchased a home in New York just so that she could run for New York Senate?
At least they actually bought it.
Okay. That's why I'm like, wait, didn't that happen to her as well?
Evidence. In fact, they bought the house next door, and that's where Chelsea lives.
You did get on the "how dare you" hill there for a second. Like, how dare? Wait a second.
I was like, wait, didn't she do the same thing? Yeah.
No, I was in Philly. Yeah, I was in Philly when I started, and they came out of office, and we all had to learn how to spell Chappaqua. Like, the hell is that?
Yeah.
Is that, are we still in the country? Where is that? And it's in New York. And I'm like, okay, so New York, 2 hours outside. Well, not that far, but it's not in. You think New York, you think, oh, she's going to the city. Yeah, no.
And who was she running against? She was running against Rich Lazaro or something like that.
Yeah.
At the time,
it was a wash, man. She was automatically going to get the seat.
You figured that, yeah. I mean, I guess Rudy Giuliani wasn't going to run for health reasons for some odd reason, and we've seen what happened to Mr. Rico Law. Got Rico Law'd himself, which a lot of the mafia were suggesting that the only reason he's taking on certain families is because he was working for other mafioso families. Is there any truth to that? Because it felt a little suspicious where you're Rico Law on these people and these other people, misdemeanors, you go right on your way.
Since this all started, I was saying he's got to have cases that are going to come into question now. And there's going to be somebody that's in jail.
Oh, big time.
Might not be soon.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of towards the end of his life. So normally when these things do catch up to people, Dick Cheney, they're towards the end of their life. Maybe they're a second heart. I'm not really sure. Dick Cheney, Halliburton.
Yep.
Just throwing it out there, got a little tickle in the throat there. I apologize if that sounded anything like Dick Cheney, Halliburton allegations of favoritism, which, by the way, is the only people like to talk about the socialism, capitalism. The only real thing that counts in this world is favoritism.
And by the way, this show is brought to you by General Dynamics.
General Dynamics, blowing shit up for over 100 years.
And also our show is brought to you by Boeing.
Boeing, yeah, going up, but not for long.
Never coming down.
Yeah.
With a quick exit, Boeing.
I think Raytheon should make like commercials that the pharmaceutical companies have out there for feel good kind of stuff. Like, you ever feel like you should just bomb everyone one day?
Yeah. That's great for the scene from Analyze This.
Mm-hmm.
De Niro's standing there bitching, and I forget the comedian that's his therapist. He says, when I have a bad day, I hit a pillow. So whips his gun out. Boom, boom, boom. Billy Crystal is the one that is. Yeah. They couldn't find the person to host the Oscars every year, so they're like, let's just go Billy Crystal again. You can't lose with him.
No,
he shoots the pillow in the middle of the living room, and Billy Crystal's like taking cover and feel better. Yeah, you know what I really do.
I think the commercial should go like this. It should be, hello and welcome to Raytheon, home of the Javelin missile.
It is the
wheeling down.
And the weird thing is, libertarians will only say, why can't I buy a Javelin missile? Why can't I have a tank in my yard?
One Javelin in everyone's home.
Why can't we all just, and these are all questions, by the way, that have been
Kevin,
answered.
don't you have cake?
Why can't you have a Javelin fucking missile? Because you'll blow your neighbor up, you jerk off. Why can't you have a tank? We've tried that. People have had tanks. They go through neighborhoods. They go on high-speed chases. That's the reason. Oh, well, we're not all like that. No, we're not all like that. But one person having some fucked up tank will affect the lives of the well-being and peaceful throughout the world.
And I'm not saying that mental health is not an issue, but mental health is an issue.
Yeah. Libertarians do have a lot of good points. Unfortunately, all of their good points are always done on a hyphenation of the end tone of their voice. It sounds a little whiny, always like a blend of Tucker Carlson and Ron Paul. And why do we even have schools? Why can't we pay everybody to be a teacher? What the fuck's wrong with you? Have you met your neighbor? Your wife beats your children. She can't stand them. They need to go. They need to go for 7 hours somewhere. They need to have trained professionals, because the next question is, once they fail at homeschooling their own kids, once they fail at that, the next question is going to be, why don't we have a building for these kids? We did, asshole. You're the one that said, why do we have that fucking building? You jerk off. I can't stand the re-engineering of what we already have and acting as if it's a new idea that's never been done before. It has been done. Watch Little House on the Prairie and wonder why the fuck we're not there right now. Because you'll see a little raccoon run up to a girl, bite her, make her fucking blind, and say, you know what? She might be able to play the piano now. No, she won't, you weirdo. That's not how things work. Sorry, Tony.
I love the mentality of people that homeschool and then complain about school tax.
I schooled my son his senior year. I didn't complain about school tax. I complained about homeowners insurance that Ron DeSantis, when he ran for governor, said he was going to fix. Meanwhile, he's trying to put golf courses in state parks. That's his newest
100%
books, and creating legislation where you can't say gay. He didn't let the gay community color the bridges throughout the state in rainbow colors, like they do every other year during every other Republican governor. He's just fascist at its finest.
Well, he took on Disney in a very dumb way. Disney was fine with policing themselves and taking the burden off of the state and off of the taxpayers for forever, because that's just the way that they've been doing stuff. And DeSantis has this personal gripe against Disney because he knows that if he says stuff against Disney and then brings up about how Disney is a woke production, a woke media group that is trying to taint the thoughts of your Christian child's brain and their thoughts and their attitude and all that nice crap. The more he paints them like that, the more he is banging on that door of talking to his base. He doesn't want to talk to people that aren't going to vote for him, because normally he's already made the determination, as has the GOP, that they'll never vote for them anyways, right? Even if they have a good idea, so why even pander? That's just their thing. So even if there are bad ideas over here, they're going to say the bad ideas just so that way over here repopulates and continues to come out and vote for them. It's a dude comes from Yale. Do you think he doesn't know about how different biology could be and stuff? I mean,
I need to throw this in there because I find it fucking hilariously funny that he just spent $117 billion in the state budget to free the Everglades of anacondas.
That's actually a serious thing.
And I know it's a serious thing. I know it's a serious epidemic. They're paying bounty hunters. They're paying regular people to come in and I guess find
anacondas. Didn't we kind of see this coming, though, Tony? Didn't we see this coming in the movie Anaconda? I mean,
tiny bit,
probably. But they're an invasive species, and they're not native to the North America. And now they are.
They're thriving through the southern hemisphere right now.
Yeah.
And because of the heat index, I guess it's much north now. It's going to like even central and northern Florida as well, if I'm correct.
Yeah, there's no climate change. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's a myth like COVID.
I think
this is from 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
I think what we really have to worry about is the sun getting a little bit bigger and having the gravitational pull just off kilter and us flying right into the goddamn sun.
Nothing could be better. Just end it. Humans.
True.
Yeah. Maybe it's already happened. Who knows? But the anacondas, oh man, that's got to be some. If you're a hillbilly on meth, this is your time. Down right now,
that is your time to shine.
Get together all of the anacondas. I don't know if Sparky's been eating hot dogs all day down there, but he might have some artwork to show us about that whole thing.
I don't have artwork about that.
Let's put that up on the big board, Sparkles.
I was working on our 2024 election actually this year.
Oh my God, Sparky's been working.
Is there a hand up his ass? Why is he speaking?
I don't know. You don't see the mouth moving, but you do see a lot of the board movement.
Couple dead gerbils in there is all. Just
there we go.
4 elections cast according to the Wizard of Oz. Biden as the Scarecrow. Sparky, read your own work off there.
Harris as the witch. Waltz as the Tin Man.
Okay.
RFK as the Cowardly Lion.
Yep.
And Trump as the Wizard.
Okay. All right. So I kind of now keep that up there, Sparky. I can go through it. Sparky, keep that up there. Keep it up.
Well, all those pointed hats looks like a gay Klan rally.
It does look like a gay Klan rally, and that's the one part of the Klan that they don't talk about enough on the corporate media, right? They don't.
The Ku Klux Klan.
I like. Okay, so Biden obviously would be a scarecrow because of his brain is too old, and if it was even there to begin with. Harris as the witch because although she's trying to be killed by her sister, she still takes care of the flying monkeys. I don't know, man.
I like her Dorothy because she's new, relatively new, and younger than everybody else.
She is new and younger than everybody else, but wasn't smart enough to just use the heels like on day one, like really, right off the rip. Yeah, the waltz as
she's always envious of her sister witch as well.
Yeah. I guess Sparky's using Harris as the witch because of that laugh, that infamous laugh that she has going on. Maybe the cackle,
the cackle.
And then Walt as the Tin Man. Not that he doesn't have much of a heart, but when you get him moving,
pretty good a heart.
He is a very sincere person. Well, he's always had a heart. If you've watched the movie, he's always had a heart. Yeah, right. And then the wizard, of course, belongs to Trump because he's giving out token prizes for bullshit. He's had a bigger image on the screen than most. And when the curtain was pulled, he was telling you, oh, no, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Keep building the wall. Keep building the wall. So the RFK is the
more curtains.
I mean, RFK, what's your take on that with the Ross, with the RFK backing up Donald Trump because he's claiming the DNC sued him over and over and over again for ballot access to be able to run as a third-party candidate or to even, first he started off trying to run against Joe Biden, incumbent, during that primary, and that was that's always a losing battle right there.
First of all, instead of the Cowardly Lion, I think he'd be better off as one of the Munchkins.
Short,
kind of minuscule, kind of out of the picture a little bit, but thinks they're a big shot. I'm the mayor. We represent the lollipop killed the lollipop.
Yeah, but wasn't he a professional hunter that killed bears?
Something to that degree.
Something happened.
A fan base.
RFK has some very nice platform ideas until he jumps the shark, where you're like, oh wow, 90% this is sounding pretty good, and then you. So, for example, I know a good amount about cryptocurrency. So when somebody is talking about cryptocurrency and they don't know what they're talking about, I'm like, okay, you obviously have no clue what you're talking about, right? So I'll give you an example. He says he gets up there and he's very raspy with the voice because of his brain thing that was going on back in the late 90s into 2000s. Anyways.
Is that the worm?
That could have been a worm. Now, we all have worms in our stomachs as well from all of these microscopic worms and stuff like that. We all, a lot of the food has worms in it too. Worms and cockroaches will outlive a bunch of us. But so the one thing he was saying about Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies, he says he wants the government to seize all cryptocurrency, and that way we'll be in total control of it. So now the way it works, it's me basically saying, okay there, rich guy, hand over your wallet right now. And he takes all the money out of his wallet and hands me an empty wallet. Wait a second. Where's the money? Give me your other wallet. So he takes all the money out of that wallet and gives you that empty wallet. You see how that works, where you can create a slightly different software variant, and it is a completely different thing now. To not grasp that idea, that's when I was out on him. I'm like, this guy does not know what he's talking about. It's a decentralized currency that you can purchase with the US dollars or whatever the hell. You can call it cryptocurrency. You can call it blah, blah, blah currency. It is a token. It is a form of anything. It is, you can put it onto the barter system if you really wanted to, as an invisible fucking barter tool. And if you really wanted to get away with something, it's one currency that the government should embrace more than try to discriminate against.
I think El Salvador's got it right. They've taken that as their official currency. Now, not only are they competing on a bigger market with the US and other major fiat currencies, but also there's that population and country. Remember, it's a third world country.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that population in the country they don't even know about because it's so cash based that they work for their neighbor. They get paid in cash. A couple of bucks is enough food for a week.
Mhm.
Now they're using Bitcoin. So now that employee that nobody knew about has to go buy a phone. So they can get some app on the phone to be paid in Bitcoin. Now El Salvador is like, who the hell is Tony Kaz? He lives here? Let's tax that bitch.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's through the ledger you can track where money has gone. This prevents money laundering in every which way possible.
Yeah. Are you listening, Liz Warren?
I'm letting you continue on that one. You know, I'm loving it. Are you listening, Miss Warren? Elizabeth Warren wanted to ban cryptocurrency. She's very much anti-stock market sort of thing, which is a swinging door. I hate it when people judge the economy on the stock market because it's almost like me judging how good I am at how my personal life is by how good the casino up the road is doing.
Right.
You know? Doesn't make any sense. One doesn't correlate with the other. That is just where money is allotted at the moment.
And I build the best product going, but the rest of the world sucks now. I still have the best product going.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to get penalized for that? I still am at this value. You can't pay it. Sucks to be you.
Yeah, Kamala Harris has been talking about taxing unrealized gain, which I don't know who she's not. She's talking to a certain crowd over here. She's talking to her crowd because that's where her crowd believes their hardships are. They would have less hardships if there was more money in social programs rather than in the stock market. But unfortunately, they're wrong because where extra money comes from is from dividends being raised. That's also where a little bit of extra inflation comes from. No problem with that. If you see your cable bill go up and the dividend raise, well, they had enough money to raise the dividend. Why didn't they have enough money to keep the goddamn price the same? It's because they had no idea how to pay for the dividend that they wanted to raise, but they had to stay consistently competitive when it comes to investors investing in their company rather than other companies along the way. Retirements are all really strung up, whether it be from a 401k or private investors into the stock market. If you're relying everybody to go on the 1.5% interest rate of Social Security, you're in for a rude awakening. You're going to have a whole new list of poor people out there just being slated to death.
And the fact that the working population is going to work themselves to death, seeing that Social Security not necessarily is a myth anymore, but I don't think the federal government will ever not realize that it is slowly running out of money, but will funnel money back into it to save it.
I think what you're going to see is, out of desperation, if nothing else, a massive overhaul of the tax code. Because rich people don't want to be taxed any heavier.
Nope.
Whether we realize it or not, we don't want to see that because they are going to pass it down to us. It's proven that's the only part of trickle down economics that works.
Well, they have enough actual financial leverage and leverage throughout every sector that involves people's lives, more than the government has that involves people's lives. The government can put on restrictions and then they just pass down the restrictions. The government is not buying grocery stores. They're not buying oil companies. They're not doing these things. The corporations of America own more of America than people do, and I can prove it by your personal tax. You take ownership of anything. Ownership is 51% of a majority ownership. if not 52%, whatever you want to call it. The 51%, a 51% tax rate would show that you own your vote and you own your own shit, right? Because your tax rate's so damn high. It's not. We're at around 28.5% if you're counting in sales tax, inflation, whatever. So that means the other 70% is owned by a mystery person. No, the other 70% is owned strictly by corporations that have billions of dollars. The only reason small businesses exist right now is because they're buying off of big corporations. And the only reason that inflation is continuing to exist is because people had such backlash after the COVID, where they're just like, why don't you come off your high horse and work the fucking job? I think it was a strict reaction, maybe immature, of ways where they're like, you know what? Maybe eggs are $9 now. Go fuck yourself. They're like, we're going to get this money back from you guys. Guess what? Chicken wings are the price of caviar now. Bring it. And you're like, whoa.
Or some shit. I forget how much it was.
$12 a pound.
No, I just bought eggs for like $2 a dozen eggs. Yeah,
this was during the hyperinflation of eggs, when they're just like, hey, these chickens are looking a little fucked up.
And everybody down here in Trumpville, of course, is saying that Kamala Harris can't gouge price or stop price gouging because she's not capable. Like, well, then stop bitching that you don't have enough money to go grocery shopping. You don't want to stop price gouging.
You could reduce, in theory, inflation if you taxed 100% of income after $1 billion. It would decentivize continuously accumulating wealth, and it would stabilize the currency and strengthen it to a degree. If there's one thing that a person that has $10 million that gets a tax cut, and then inflation overwhelms the tax cut, they're like, hey, now you got $12 billion extra because of your tax cut, but their money's only worth $9 million as it was before, because there's too much of it out there, devaluing it regardless. Like, on paper, you got more money. It's the same theory that has been used on the poor, where they say, we want a raise in the minimum wage. And they say, well, your rent's just going to double if that's going to happen, because people are not going to allow. It's a competitive world. People are more bad than good when it comes to money. It's I've been on a Lord of the Rings kick, and I'm like, oh, the ring is more representative of greed and everything terrible in people's lives. But the wife we've been binge watching, and I tell you what, those movies, I only found maybe 1/7 where they have a talking dragon for some odd reason in The Hobbit. I could have done without the talking dragon. You don't need to have a talking dragon in that goddamn the whole series. But but yeah, it's the same monetary theory that's been used on the poor. They don't want you getting too close to them. The more people that look like Rodney Dangerfield on the golf course, the more reason they have to raise prices and say, I think they've gotten too close to us. That's the one thing that they don't want is, to share the same sauna with the guy who clips his toenails, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a visual.
That's disgusting, right? Tony, how's those toenail clippers?
Well, Yergs, I got a question for you, and this we're gonna backtrack a tiny bit. What is the process? And like, I have no clue. I have zero clue on how this happens. But how do you get into the Secret Service?
It helps to have like somebody like me, actually not like me, but somebody that's in the Secret Service that's liked. I was not that person, which I did. He passed away back in 2019. He was in Dallas during '63. He was the site agent where the motorcade was going to. So he had Kennedy, had nothing happened. Actually, he was assigned to Johnson, but obviously Gilly Plaza came along and got a little traffic and had to go to the hospital. He was a big help. College degree, other life experience if you don't have the college degree, but you pretty much need the college degree.
So you don't have to have not necessarily a military background or even a police or military or police or
a police background, but not much. It wasn't a deciding factor.
Yeah, we got to see most recent assassination attempt on a former president, Donald Trump. Secret Service.
That's where I was leading into.
Yeah, the Kimberly Chettle. Did you were you able to watch those interviews that she's had on C-SPAN?
I avoided it intentionally because I'm out. I don't miss it. I have a ponytail now. I wear. I actually, that was on a Saturday when that happened, and I was on my local news affiliate here in Tampa Monday on the evening news. I was in a tight long sleeve T-shirt with Sea-Doo across my chest, and hair slicked back in a ponytail, man bun actually, and was not the impression of a Secret Service agent they were expecting. I kind of do the Gary Vaynerchuk approach. You want to see me in a suit? Photoshop it. This is not, you don't need to see me in a suit with a boy band haircut like, Kevin's got there. And
hey, all right. I'll take that as a compliment. That's what I was going for.
And the sunglasses and the earpiece understand my knowledge of having been in the Secret Service. This is who I am now, and I don't miss it. Kimberly Cheadle was, as I understand, not the best director. I have a friend who just retired last month, who had been home, working from home for the past year, making six figures.
Wow.
Working from home, having another job, all because he caught her promoting someone else, another woman, over him, who was scored lower on the promotional exams, had less of a resume, whole nine yards. But because of her initiative to promote women, as opposed to promoting qualified women, she got herself in a potential lawsuit. And he said, here are my demands. I'm eligible to retire next year. I will. I'm going to be working on a new job now. You're okay with that? And oh, by the way, I get paid full salary to include what's called LEAP. LEAP stands for Law Enforcement Availability Pay.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm an agent right now and it's past business hours, but my phone rings, Yerg's the boss. Your counterfeit case, somebody just got arrested by the Department of Law Enforcement here in Florida. You got to go talk to him. Okay? Those hours that I'm going to be out on this case, I was already paid for. It's already into my base salary. And he got that for working from home.
Wow.
He
Wow.
got 170,000 a year.
That's a fucking gig. Holy cow.
That's a good clip of cash right there, man.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, with the unfortunate set of events, I'm not going to ask you, man, where did they go wrong? What do you think happened? It's an unfortunate set of events that,
had to happen.
Crazy.
I don't think it had to happen. I do think it was bound to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told, I've said to others that 21 years of my career has been largely smoke and mirrors. That we tell people we're the best there is. Some of our people have no idea what they're doing. I was in the San Francisco office when the site agent from the president's detail was supposed to be able to take President Bush biking. And they're on this wooded trail that Bush was doing at the time that type of trail. And the site agent couldn't keep up with the president. So our counterparts that were assigned to that site with the site agent, who also knew the trail as part of their job, led the president of the United States through the woods.
Well,
But
that's the thing, though. Bush was in
guys
very
are
good shape.
Western
He had
Bush.
strong legs, dude. Very strong legs. You know, when
He
you're
had,
always
he had great painting arms.
he did when you're always running, your legs get kind of strong. That's the one thing. Yeah, now he's painting pictures.
Pretty good.
Morbid right now. It's the that's the closest you're gonna get to Hitler is now a guy that's just painting. It's just
I think we got something better. I think there's something better.
what would that be?
The rest of what used to be the Democratic or the Republican Party.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Republican Party has had a jeez. They want to talk about Kamala Harris not getting a primary vote, and reality, and the primary votes were, or the delegates were just given to her. Well, Gerald Ford, nobody voted for him.
Yeah.
like if the door swings both ways, let's play transparency for a moment. Richard Nixon just bowed out. He's like, I guess I did something illegal. I wasn't supposed to do it. No big deal, I guess, And Lyndon Johnson didn't seek a second term. So there's been a lot of instability throughout the government. Jimmy Carter got in there. He was only good for one term. Ronald Reagan ran as an independent, kind of spoiling any chance that Gerald Ford had against Jimmy Carter. And then here comes Reagan again, like, hey, now I guess I'm the guy. Picks Mr. Second Place, George H.W. Bush, ready to roll on that idea. 2 terms later, why put up Mondale? Why not? Because who the fuck cares, right? It's symbolic. It's a vice president. Give him Jean Ferrario or whatever her name was. See how forgettable she was? Very forgettable as a vice president. They didn't push her out. You can't have something so historically impactful and then hide her throughout the whole entire campaign. That was stupid. If you're going to embrace the idea, shove it in everybody's faces.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about the Iran-Contra scandal, in great detail, because, it sounds like when you go through it, you're like, that couldn't have happened. No, it did. Yeah. Holy shit, it did.
And when he came to testify, he still wore the uniform from the job he was fired from.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, get a tailor for the love of God. Right?
Wait, talk about
that.
Yeah. I'm fired from a lot of jobs. I never wore the uniform from Wendy's.
Yeah. So when you say like the old Republican Party, I'm trying to pick out somebody, that like sure you have your losing candidates like a John McCain, decorated war veteran. Then you have a Mitt Romney, decorated Mormon. They give him a glass of milk. He says no. He's like, no, I'm good. I'm off the milk.
I think if you want to see what the Republican Party will again be someday, look at anybody who today is being called a rhino. Kinzinger, Cheney, Romney. Because everybody else is either MAGA or puppet. Lindsey Graham. Beaker.
Lindsey Graham had one of the most top tiered scumbag comments after the fact of something. There was a overweight black gentleman selling loose cigarettes in New York, and he was, instead of just given a citation of, hey, stop selling loose cigarettes, he was attacked by like 8 or 9 cops caught on camera. And then he took a heart attack and died because, holy crap, he was that big. He was about 400, maybe 500 pounds. I'm leaning more towards 500 pounds the guy was, right? Lindsey Graham's comment was, well, if he wasn't so out of shape, he probably wouldn't have taken a heart attack. Oh, great. So if he wasn't so fat, black, and poor, he would still be alive today. Great. Where are you? South Carolina, you say? Cool. Now we know. Awesome. It just...
Yeah, which floors me. Because he's gay.
He is. He's got something's a little off there. Something's a little powder wig like,
that had sex with him.
Who? What now?
I know the male prostitute that had sex.
Okay. I thought you said okay. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on.
There's a small glitch in the system.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm gay too. That's kind of the reason why I know the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's married to his chief of staff.
Yeah, that does not surprise me at all. And Pete Buttigieg, I actually says is my theory on Pete Buttigieg is that he's not gay, but that's the only interesting thing they could give him to do. Where without him being gay, he's just another white guy from Indiana.
A very good one. I mean, his housing project finished on actually early and under budget. There was some other major project he did in South Bend that everybody was raving about. I mean, he's kind of a progressive, liberal, obviously, guy that succeeded in Indiana.
Now Indiana has only really had two people that they've really loved. Evan Baio, remember him? Evan Baio,
Larry Bird.
And I'm not going to say Larry Bird from French Lick, Indiana. I'll say Mike Pence. And if you've ever listened to the old episodes of the Mike Pence show, that is the strangest man I'm ever going to wrap my head around. He literally believes he can talk to God. Dude, he's like the 1400 club. He's twice as bad as the 700 club because I think Pat Robertson knew that he was kind of lying for a little bit, but Mike Pence full-heartedly believes that he's doing it.
Ron DeSantis thinks he was one of the disciples.
I mean, well, when you go to any Ivy League school, man, there is some weird mentality going up there between the Yale and Harvard Ivy League people like John Kerry, George W. Bush, Ron DeSantis. Yale, Harvard just screams entitlement to the point where you could go up to your kid that's going to Yale and be like, by the way, you can talk to God. And they'd have no other option but to believe you.
Of all that entitlement, of all that skull and bones and all that shit, Ron DeSantis was the guy that wasn't in any of that because he was picked on anyway.
Oh, he wasn't in any of that.
No, I'm just saying maybe he was, but he was the guy that was picked on anyway.
There's a rumor out there that Ron DeSantis can't smile. Is that true?
I haven't seen him do a decent one. Do you know how long it took me in my was it up the middle? Yeah. My policy, regardless of how much I think you suck, when I was concentrating more on video part of the podcast, and I put your picture up because I'm talking about, Sparky today, I will find the best picture of that person that I can find. So as to not, like Donald Trump, God love him, has made his share of stupid faces. And all that shit, DeSantis ain't far behind.
Those faces, by the way, when debating, those faces are called talking while legally not saying anything. Like this fucking guy,
Almost 2 hours to find a decent photo of Ron DeSantis.
He's got one of those faces, 5'7" or something like that. Kind of an unusually short guy. Yeah,
and heels. He's
got the Tom Cruise shoes going on.
Yeah, and then he goes to like whatever areas was disaster areas. I think it was with Ian down south. He's in those white knee-high rubber boots.
Nice.
Like, what staffer told him that was a good idea?
Have you ever heard of the Mike Pence show or his wife's work? His wife, Mike Pence's wife, was for years she was doing the Pray the Gay Away, which I always counted as the most creative way to cheat on your husband.
Yeah,
it feels like a really, like, where's your wife, Mike? Oh, she's helping gay men find their way to be straight. It's like, so she's cheating on you. Oh no, wait a second. Hold on. Bring me Marlon Bundo.
Actually, he got busted for that when he was the governor. He had a little intern action going on. And so now every half hour he has to call home.
And he calls her mother, right? That's fucking weird. That's a weird thing to call.
Way weird.
Yeah.
Way weird.
I had an aunt and uncle, still do, that when we were all younger, my Aunt Kathy would call my Uncle Bob Dad.
Mm.
But it would be in front of my cousins because that's what they called them. Yeah, when they were fighting, they were not calling each other mom and dad. Mom, kind of, sort of, but it was a little bit longer and, compound word, if you will. But it wasn't weird. It was familiar. Like, he would say it in front of us. Mother's going to be at the airport soon. She's going to get the family or whatever. Because the two reasons why he got into politics was for pro-life and anti-gay. And she learned that I was gay. I was one of her favorite agents. I was in the Washington field office during their administration, and my biggest assignment during that was I was the lead agent at Reagan Airport. So I saw her all the time because her daughter, she comes over with her daughter when her daughter flies in and out. When their one military son came home on commercial flights, for some other holidays, they'd have all kinds of family members. She'd come to the airport to get them. So she'd have some staffer driving a minivan or a 15-passenger van for all them. And then she'd come over in her limo with her shift and the detail. And, some of the senior relatives got to ride with her. Everybody else had to ride in the staff van, and they go home. So I saw her a couple times a week, easy. And I had like the Apple Watch with the rainbow wristband or the rainbow watch band. I didn't care anymore. So
isn't the rainbow wristband anti-colorblind? No, I'm fucking with you. That doesn't make any sense. That wasn't made to make it.
Yeah, I tell you.
I like how every question he's kind of like thinking, he's like, is it?
Well, when I wear it here, I have the filter on, for the green screen on the wall behind me. You can't see the green band, the green stripe on the watch band. And it's same as any other green. It blends in.
Well, your boy down has been deemed the richest members of Congress or Senate even. Rick Scott, kind of a scumbag, throwing it out there. I've seen, and the only reason I'm saying that, for anybody who is a Rick Scott fan, please rewatch everything he's ever done on C-SPAN. There's been some people trying to get back their right to vote on misdemeanors, and they all look the same way, and he's denied every single one of them. And spoiler alert, they're all black, and he said no to every single one of them. But bring up some kind of Nazi-looking skinhead. I think that you, for some odd reason, I think that you've learned your lesson. Kind of weird, kind of biased. What's your take on richest member of Congress right now? They got him clocked in 2 spots ahead Nancy Pelosi. He's 2 spots ahead of Nancy Pelosi. He's made $327 million. And Nancy Pelosi's at $248 million, representing the poor people of California who she claims to be taking care of right now. I don't know how you're taking care of them besides making homelessness not so illegal to the point where you're not throwing them in overcrowded prisons, but, just throwing it out there.
When she first came to the speakership, I was in the San Francisco field office, which is where she's from, in like the rich section, not whatever. I and some other agents that lived close to the field office that were kind of tactfully sound and could be a makeshift shift right away. We were a standby shift. If something ever happened, like a major catastrophe where we have to secure the next in line, we would have responded to the field office, got trucks, met with the U.S. Marshals, and assumed security over her detail. So yeah, she had a nice place. We had to do a survey like we do every other site. So that way, when that day came, we were already ready to go.
Yeah, I've made a lot of money alongside with Nancy Pelosi by just copying her public stock trades from Paul Pelosi's track of options trading. There's a lot of money to be made if you're paying attention to that area. Paul Pelosi, unfortunately,
a little bit. When I was planning on leaving the service, I started trading crypto and Forex, and I kicked some ass. And then I got triggered with some PTSD issues and knew better than to be trading when I was pissed at the world. So
that's a smart idea, man. That really, you got to know when to back away. There's a discipline to the idea. But that's Forex that you bring that up right now. All the sanctions on Russia, there are 2 senators that have invested heavily into the rupee, one being Ted Cruz, the other one being Nancy Pelosi. So are they devaluing the currency? And then when they do lift the sanctions, do you feel like they're probably going to just convert their money back over to a U.S. currency anyways? Because that feels like a conflict of interest, if not
let me help you with that.
Yeah.
That is a conflict of interest.
It is. Okay. All right. Great. Yes. Because I thought that's what it felt like. But, I don't know.
And that's the bottom line because you're said so.
She's been for supporting Ukraine, but when you're investing in the Russian currency, and then you're mother effing Ukraine and supporting Ukraine because you need to spend that money here at home, you don't think that qualifies as a problem?
Ukraine right now, they're being given it's not as far as a foreign aid package as it is being pressed to a loan package to Ukraine. And
we're never going to see that money again. We don't want it.
We're never going to see the money.
Billions and billions of dollars.
So
what we're giving Ukraine is less than 1% of our annual budget.
Correct.
It's not even a penny.
So it's okay. So it's packaged as a
bitches
loan.
like Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying we need to spend that money here at home. That's a lot of money. No, it's not. And by the way, we've been spending it on your friends in Israel for a really long time. And how'd that do?
Israel actually takes the money that, well, maybe indirectly or whatever, but I don't know where else they're getting the money from besides the aid from America and taxing their own citizens along the way. But they give their citizens free health care. So that's they're able to do it in Israel. Now, obviously, that's not the size of America. There's not so much money.
They also don't have a $29 trillion a year budget.
Correct. Yeah. So they have a lot of factors that aren't tied into that where they have the ability to do it. They also give military service to everybody in Israel. Is that still
mandatory service? Yeah,
a mandatory service that way. So that's probably where the free healthcare would probably kick in there. But Ukraine works on the currency of the Nyetev, which is about a 1 to 1,000 ratio on the U.S. currency right now. So again, when it comes to Forex, that could be packaged along with that deal as well. That hasn't been publicly disclosed because the Nyetev currency is tied up with the loan that that America has given to the Ukraine. So that kind of
have you on my show.
But there's a little. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just trying to follow the money along, to figure out what the intentions actually are.
It's dirty. When Netanyahu makes decisions like that, it's not what's best for his country, is what's best for the almighty whatever.
Yeah, and at this point in time, he's basically the Israeli version of George W. Bush. He feels like the Jewish version of Dick Cheney, right? Where you're like, I think I've seen something like it before. But
yeah. Sparky, how you doing there, man? We keeping you away?
Doing well.
Okay. Oh, if it wouldn't be for that, does he have a goatee or did he just eat a really melted chocolate bar?
He just has a dirty face.
Oh.
That's what it is.
Came across the border, did you?
Oh, God. Sparky has on tape a very infamous comment when the whole COVID thing was going on. I'm like, what? Something about more land for everybody else. Then I don't know. It was the Russian in him that just sparked the whole thing. It's like, do you realize what you just said?
Yeah.
Well, we do have to end this show.
Yeah, I can make dinner for my kid.
Yeah. If people are going to reach out to you, sir, how would they do it?
Everything, yergz.com, YERGZ. And like I said, the SSL is down right now. So if you get all kinds of warnings, I'm not stealing your info. I'm asking for it because I want to put you on my newsletter. And eventually when I get my phone system finished setting up, I want to be able to text you and say, hey, I'm going live, tune in, that kind of thing. But yergz.com, it's all there. You can learn more about my career in the Secret Service, public speaking, what else? Radio, Yergz Radio. When I had the podcast, I'm so glad you actually asked questions about, me.
Of course.
We should have all had a drink and a cigar. We were just like bullshitting for an hour and a half at the bar.
This is what we do. This is our show.
Nice. No, my podcast, when it went from podcast, I expanded the audience by wanting to get into internet radio. And I realized live is where a lot of some of the audience is at. So it went from podcast to internet radio show and still a podcast. So I actually had a separate internet radio show that I was doing nightly with like Anderson Cooper on the radio. It was called Yergz Tonight.
Perfect.
And was still doing up the middle. That started taking a back seat. And then the radio show was 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, yada, yada, yada. And I didn't have time to, research material.
It's hard to do that every single day, night in, night out.
It was hard enough. Excuse me, I'm getting over being sick. It was hard enough to do that for the 2-hour show, but then to also do it for at least once a week on a pre-recorded, podcast episode.
Yeah.
So I went like 3 months without doing anything for up the middle.
And what were those episodes like? Usually half hour, 45 hour.
That would be anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, depending on what I needed to say. There was no set. Where like when you're on radio, I come on at 11 o'clock a.m. every day, and I'm on until at least noon. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm on till noon. Monday and Friday, I'm also on till 1 in the afternoon. And that's clockwork. Like some of my affiliates, because it's computerized, you get rambling, and I'm trying to jump in and say, "Hey, we gotta go." And yep, they're well, we lost Atlanta. They're going. We don't get to say the call letters anymore. We don't get to say what your contact info is because I, give everybody plugs at the end of it. So yeah, it's very timely. Like when you said to me tonight that we start at 10 o'clock sharp, and we're sitting here shooting the shit for a couple of minutes. I'm like, I'm ready. Is he expecting?
It has worked out well for us, and not to say that like I said, we have a different dichotomy, we have a different buildup, the way that we happen to ask questions, even in a live atmosphere. Of course, like how do I put it in the words that just sound
just because our audience expects us to do comedy in most areas does not mean that the same audience isn't interested in serious guests such as yours.
100%.
I try to be a smart ass sometimes, but sometimes I just like what did I do earlier? My Bobcat Goldthwait was probably one of my better ones. It just isn't funny anymore. The one question I got though, can you guys count all the figurines behind Sparky as listeners?
Oh, we did. Yeah. Sparky has an official count of now I tried talking about this earlier, but Sparky has the highest collection of all Star Wars pop figures, and that's everything that he has behind him.
Every week that he is not with and intimate with a woman, he gets a plastic toy to represent his week of loneliness and despair.
Does he have like a museum for all that stuff now?
It's his own personal crying game back there, man. It's all,
It's
all bad news.
Kleenex and Jergens abound, sir.
Oh God, 647. There's the number right there.
There's the official count.
That is the biggest audience I've had all week.
It's about 12 years right there. 12.5 years. There's our.
What is that?
Yeah, there's our wonderful T-shirt back there, the Podguyz Podcast T-shirt, where you can find the podguyzpodcast.com. That's the PODGYZ podcast.com.
This is Z too. I love it.
Much like the Zergs.
Yeah.
Yergs.
And if you're wondering where to find this episode, we got the Podguyz Podcast fan page going private. We got the Podguyz Podcast commercial page under construction currently, but it's on the way. Trust us on that idea. You can also find your gear at merchbooth.com. You go down to the podcast section, scroll on down to the Podguyz Podcast, give it a click with your left clicker. And if I'm giving the play-by-play for people that if they're too dumb to get there, this is going to help them out. Like, hold on, I tried punching my computer randomly. It's like, no. Use your mouse, you whack jobs. But no, we're still pumping out the merchandise. Some people are buying it for their friends because they feel like it's going to solve and give them a miracle in their lives. And the only reason they feel that way is because we told them that it would create a miracle in their lives. The miracle of being clothed.
Hey.
We didn't tell them that last part. We did tell them the miracle part, though, which if they want to sue us, they can directly call to our secretary. Her name is Go Fuck Yourself. And she did just get married to a nice man called Get Screwed. And they had a beautiful little baby boy called Go to Fuck Yourself. Go to hell. I'm sorry. Messed that up. Did not stick the landing. It's all right.
Well, Ross, thank you very much for being on the show. We appreciate your time and effort.
Yep, a pleasure.
And make sure you visit yergs.com. Of course, we are the Podguyz Podcast. I am Tony Kaz.
Kevin Neary.
Of course, the ever-loving Picasso.
Sparky.
There he goes.
He
doesn't need my introductions. Guys, we'll catch you every Monday, 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Find us on Facebook. Find us on all your streaming platforms and or apps.
Yeah.
You're there. Guys, have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.